Now look at what the weather has in store for us. Here's Ian McCaskill.
Hello. In spite of this gang of low pressures here, many places, especially over southern Britain, won't have too bad an afternoon at all for sport. This little mover here has gone away now towards Denmark and taken last night's rain with it. Now this is the main low around which these little lows are spinning. This one does have a lot of showers over southern Scotland and northern England, and it's drifting very slowly eastwards. This one's spinning down towards northwest Scotland, giving quite a bit of rain up there. Nonetheless, it is calculated, this picture, to give a smile, a hurrah from central heating engineers and for water boards everywhere. It's going to give a fair number of showers over the next few days, and as it slowly, very slowly drifts eastwards, it's going to pull some quite cold air, even colder air down from the north. That does mean frost in quite a number of places at night. Looking farther ahead into next week, though, this little ridge of high pressure here coming along slowly and finding the weather up from the west during next week. So some brighter weather on the way between the showers. A lot of showers though, over the next few days from this great mass of low pressure we have here. Now I think we can see most of these features on this morning's satellite chart. This was taken from the equator, 10 o'clock this morning, as you can see in the visible spectrum. It's still quite dark out here in the west, but a lot of sunshine over us. Now there, over France, there's that first low, the one that's moving rather quickly up the channel, and already that rain has cleared away from East Anglia and Kent, and it's moving off towards Denmark. Now there's the main low, centred over northern England there. That's giving a fair number of showers over northern England and southern Scotland as well. And there's the other little low up there to the northwest. That's giving a fair bit of rain over northwestern parts of Scotland. But having said all that, a good deal of sunshine in between, especially, I think, over the southeastern half of England this afternoon. A good deal of sunshine between the showers. Not all that many showers either, I can't think. And then, well, this is interesting, this massive cloud. I must tell you about this, because this could just bring rather more in the way of showers to southern and southwestern parts of England for a time this afternoon, but many places staying fairly fine. Today's picture then, well, a mixture of sunshine and showers everywhere, but over the southeastern half of England there, not all that very many showers. Temperatures doing rather better than we expected, getting up to 15 centigrade in the south, that's 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and not as much wind as we had feared, not as much breeze as there was yesterday. So quite a pleasant afternoon with not all that many showers over the southeastern half of England. Over northern and western districts, I'm afraid, there will be one or two quite heavy showers coming along from time to time with brief intervals of sunshine between them. And the temperatures, well, not just as warm in the north, 13 degrees centigrade, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and rather more prolonged rain in the northwest of Scotland there. Tonight, well, showers continuing round the coasts, not all that many inland, quite a chilly night inland with a touch of frost in places. Good afternoon.
Saturday Cinema on BBC2 this afternoon tells the story of a woman who appears to have everything, including a successful husband and 2 children. The reality is that she's most unhappy. Jennifer, A Woman's Story, is at 3:10 on BBC2. This is BBC1. It's now 12:30 and time for an afternoon of sport in Grandstand.
Hello there. Manchester United, the favourites for this year's First Division title against the reigning champions Liverpool. Just one of the football highlights we'll be looking forward to this afternoon. And while we take our football pretty seriously, in Canada, the great expectation is success in ice hockey. The Canada Cup, that sport's top international competition, has already seen the Canadians topple the great red machine from the Soviet Union.
And that's Paul Coffey. Coffey to Tonelli. Tonelli scores! A great goal for Canada. And it's there! It's there! The Canadians have equalised. Coffey with a shot. It's there! It's there! Canada have won.
So in the best of three finals, Canada take on Sweden.
And what a great goal. Flicked away. Oh, another goal. Excellent looking for it, number 24, and he scored. Wilson with a pass. Håkon Loob, what a great goal.
Look out then for some cracking action.
Oh, my goodness.
There are plenty of obstacles to overcome at Gatcombe Park in the Croft Original Horse Trials.
A real ducking there.
The winner last year was David Green. And there to provide congratulations was Lucinda, who of course is Mrs. Green. The family Green and a host of other top names in the eventing world compete today. And while we're on the subject of name dropping, yes, you were quite right about Gatcombe Park, and Princess Anne and Mark Phillips will be at home today. Our racing is at Newbury. 4 races beginning with the 2 o'clock and featuring the Coral Autumn Cup at 3 o'clock and the Mill Reef Stakes at 3:30 as the search for the season's top 2-year-old colt goes on. Meanwhile, the sporting world has been holding its breath as the greatest faced his toughest test this week. We talked to boxing doctor Adrian Whiteson about the predicament of Muhammad Ali. And as the boxing season gets underway, the heavy with a weight on his mind. Can Big Frank overcome the bone crushing?
And Bruno is taking too much. And he doesn't know where he is.
But first it's football, and what we all really want from the game, we want to get rid of all that violence, and we want skill, and bags of it. Here's Bob.
Yes, will the art of dribbling made famous by the likes of the great Stan Matthews be allowed to re-emerge in the English game? Or will the efforts of the amazing 61-year-old Dutchman Will Curver, a guest this week at the National Soccer School, be buried under a torrent of abuse and cynicism? The Scots have always been pretty adept when it comes to manipulating a football, with Denis Law, one of the great artists. And where would you imagine 57,000 people would be watching a game today? Yes, I'm sure you're right. Manchester United against Liverpool. We're delighted that Denis Law, an Old Trafford favourite, is our guest. The two Danish internationals, United's Jesper Olsen and Liverpool's Jan Molby, give their view on that game and their early impressions of the Football League. And in unusual surroundings, we also drop in on the new Wolves manager, Tommy Docherty. On top of that, just for a change, Archie MacPherson has deserted the TV gantries of the Scottish clubs to keep us all on our toes and give a view of what's been quite a difficult week for Scottish clubs in Europe, Archie.
Well, so what's new, Bob? I mean, it's always difficult, Europe, but looking at it, it's only the halfway stage, and I would predict here and now that 4 out of the 5 teams stand a very good chance of getting through to the next round. Even Aberdeen, who almost blew it in the last seconds of the game, it was 2-1 for them. I think they'll get back over the Berlin Wall safely.
Well, we all hope that. You're going to do a little European roundup in a moment, sure, Archie, but first, John Motson on the fine start made by Liverpool in defence of the Champions Cup, and the ominous form of Juventus, the team who will pose perhaps the biggest threat to Joe Fagan's men. So, Lech Poznan versus Liverpool coming up first.
John Walk, who once scored a record 14 European goals in a season for Ipswich, marked his first European appearance for Liverpool with the only goal after 62 minutes. It emphasised their superiority over the Polish double winners and got the holders off to a tidy start. Meanwhile, in Finland, Juventus, in the famous stripes, had Paolo Rossi to thank for a comfortable 4-0 win over Ilves from Tampere. That first goal proved Rossi is still a master inside the penalty area, and in the last 6 minutes, he scored twice more. Just watch the footwork coming up here. Juventus, having won the Cup Winners' Cup last season, fancy themselves to run Liverpool close in the Champions' Cup, and with Rossi in this sort of form, who can blame them?
In windy Reykjavik on a pitch like a treacle scone, QPR managed to make light of the conditions and were probably inspired by this opening goal by Steinrod in the 24th minute. making the defence look legless with delicate finishing. You'd swear the man had eyes in the back of his head for that one, but looking towards goal in a more conventional manner, he laid on the second by Bannister. And although that, in effect, had killed off the tie, Steinrod added a third 14 minutes from the end, which was as effective as it was ungainly. In Paris, this goal by Souchik of Paris Saint-Germain might have been learned at the Platini Academy for free kicks. Platini's old club overwhelmed Hearts with strong running and finishing that seemed to belie their position at the foot of the French First Division. As witness the second goal, Souchik making the running, but watch Curial, number 11, dragging the Hearts defence wide and knowing exactly where Rochelot would be for the second. By the amount of pressure that was still to come, other goals were inevitable. The third scored by Souchik, who yet again linked with Curial on the left. And the finishing shot seemed to dip viciously, giving Henry Smith no chance. The fourth and, I think, mortal blow for Hearts in the tie came when the defence seemed to have been run ragged near the end, allowing Niederbacher the simple finish after the neat build-up. And now for some of the best of the rest from Europe. Starting with a goal that was the peak of Red Star's fight back from 2-0 down to Benfica to manage a 3-2 win. The scorer, Giannoni. And you really can't grudge a lad feeling slightly chuffed about scoring the likes of that. And we could possibly nominate the hardest strike of the week to Nemec of Dukla Banska Bystrica against Borussia Mönchengladbach. A shot that would have ended up in the Euros if the net hadn't been there. But Borussia eventually won 3-2, a victory crowned by this great solo effort by Lynam. And if you want to hear Czechoslovakian for nice one, Cyril, just listen. In Vienna, 34-year-old Anton Panenka showed he's still master of the free kick with this one from their 4-1 win over Besiktas. And now to the I wish the ground would open up in swallowy moments. Candidate number one for the drop, defender Sonner of Metz against Barcelona, with a goalkeeper who doesn't like pass backs. He doesn't like free kicks either, judging by this. A shot by Carrasco in Barcelona's 3-2 win. And judging by his expressions, you'd think it'd been headed home by a worm.
Come on, Bob, did you blame anything like that? Worms?
I blamed all sorts, Archie. Cans, UFOs, worms, anything. It's a gesture. It's the first thing that you learn as a goalkeeper, the gesture of defeat. Terrible, wasn't it? Anyway, all things considered, perhaps the best performance from a British side was Wrexham's 1-0 victory in the Cup Winners' Cup against last season's beaten finalist Porto. Spurs and Manchester United are in the most commanding position, each winning 3-0 in the UEFA Cup. Spurs the holders, of course, and United, I guess, one of the clear favourites, Dennis Law, for the competition.
Well, of course, United haven't done particularly well in Europe for a long time. And I think Ron Atkinson, now that he's got, well, Strachan didn't play, but now he's got Olsen in there, that I think they'll do well in Europe, yes. And it was a good start to, you know, their competition.
What is their priority, though, Dennis? I mean, United are going to have a problem here. There can be no excuses this season about the league, can there?
What do you mean, no excuses?
Well, they've spent a lot of money. They're second team in the Northwest, which they can't like. Liverpool have been the top team for years now. I mean, they just can't like it. There's no excuses this year.
Listen, when you play in a league that contains a team like Liverpool, then of course you've got excuses. I mean, it's not that long since they last won the championship, but something like 17 years ago. So, I mean, you know, you don't know what to say, Wilson, do you? You lost. No, right.
I can hear Alan Parry backing you up there with a bit of laughter, Dennis.
No, right. Alan Parry, well, of course, we all know what an unbiased commentator that he is.
And he's always so objective.
And he'll be hoping, of course, that United do win the championship this year.
But do you think they are well equipped for it? Well enough equipped for it?
Yes, I do. I think one of the main things why they will win the championship is the fact that Souness is gone. And I think Liverpool will realise the importance of Souness. They know it now, but as the season goes on, I think that Souness, his departure will have been sorely missed. And if United are going to win it, this is the season they're going to do it.
Well, just before you give us your view about this afternoon's game at Old Trafford, Dennis, you'll be interested to hear what the two Danish internationals, United's Jesper Olsen and Liverpool's Jan Molby, have to say about life in the Cannon League. Molby, who began the season so well, has actually failed to make today's Liverpool side, but both he and Jesper had some interesting thoughts when they spent an hour or so with Tony Gubber. First, a little reminder of the style of these gifted players.
Olsen, natuurlijk een strafschopgebied in. Goeie bal en een doelpunt. Wat een schitterende goal van die Jesper Olsen.
It was the brilliant individual skills of Jesper Olsen and the midfield strengths of Jan Molby that tempted Manchester United and Liverpool to sign these Danish international friends and make them rivals in the English League. Last weekend, for the first time since their arrival here, the old teammates from Ajax came together for a reunion in a smart Cheshire hotel. Sunday lunch, like Liverpool-Manchester United matches, just another great British tradition that they're about to taste for the first time. The healthy appetites of sportsmen were appreciative of the roast beef, roast potatoes and 2 veg, but ultimately puzzled, as all visitors are, by the conundrum of Yorkshire pudding.
I'll never eat all that.
I'll try.
What do you think of these?
I don't know this. I thought it was sweet or something.
That's Yorkshire pudding.
I never heard about that. So
try one.
I'll try.
Yeah.
It looks like a cake. Eh? It's not so tasty. Eh?
Very non-committal.
Yeah.
Olsen, the tiny Viking, and the massive Molby are still learning about English football.
I think it's different to play over here because we're playing a lot of games in no time, and the style of playing is also difficult. A lot of teams are playing kick and run like Norwich. We play them away, Luton away, and the pitch are very small. So.
Well, the pitch is small.
Yeah, you don't got the time to control the ball. You have to play very quick.
I'm very surprised of the way they're kicking the balls and the way the forwards are taking the balls down, and so I think they're on the same level as we are in Denmark and in Holland, yeah.
Liverpool have a great tradition in the past of signing players and keeping them in the reserves for 6 months, 12 months before they get into the first team.
Yeah, but now they only got 15, 16 players for the first team, and they needed a player for the midfield. A player who could destroy a lot, and he also could do something with the ball. And then I got the chance, and now I have to improve myself.
Molby. Good close skill again. Just your big man.
The way we have played before is a lot different from the way we play in England, and I think that United and we are going to change that play a little bit, because with Gordon Strachan and me, we are not so physical good, so we had to change it.
Can you understand what's said? Because there's a very rich Liverpool accent.
Yeah, it's difficult to understand the players when they are talking, but everyone tries to help me, so in a few months I can talk the language they are talking up there.
Yeah, what about Kenny Dalglish?
Well, I don't think he's talking English, he's talking Scottish.
Can you understand him?
No, I can't understand him.
Before I came here, I knew that it was one of the biggest clubs in Britain, and that they had a lot of people coming watching their game, so I knew that it would be a lot different to playing for Ajax and then for the Danish team. But I think until now, when we have played at home, they have been great. There have been 50,000 people at every game, and they have supported us very well.
Olsen's skillful touches have already made him a crowd pleaser and reaped a goal dividend for Manchester United, like this one in the 3-0 defeat of Coventry last week. Now it's Liverpool on Saturday. What are your thoughts about that?
Now, I think that we are going to get a very difficult game. Liverpool is always a team that, when they had to win and when they had to play well, they do that.
Of course, I look forward to play the big crowd, and it's always an honour to play for Liverpool against Manchester United, because it's the biggest game in British football. But I will be pleased with the draw. I think that's all right.
Well, just watching Tony Gubber's piece there confirms my feeling that the Manchester United faithful are taking to Jesper Olsen as readily as they have to famous ball players in the club's illustrious past. It's not just the memory of George Best, you know, that makes Old Trafford stir when the ball goes out to the wing. Going way back, there were the two wingers in the pre-Munich team, Johnny Berry and David Pegg. And then in the 70s, Tommy Docherty had Steve Coppell playing on the right and that crowd pleaser Gordon Hill playing on the left. And as recently as last season, Arthur Graham, enjoying an Indian summer, made the goal by which United beat Liverpool at Old Trafford exactly a year ago today. But rather than show that again to revive memories of this classic fixture, we've dug even further back into the archives and come up with a Liverpool versus United match played at Anfield 13 years ago this month. But don't blink now, because if you do, you'll miss two Liverpool goals and then some vintage stuff from Charlton, Best and today's guest, Denis Law.
It's Lindsay to Hughes and he's unmarked. Callaghan. Yes! Deflected by Graham. Lawler. Highway. Gowling. And again beaten by Lawler. Keegan. Graham. And another ricochet. Offside, is it? No. So Neil. Best. Law, yes! Lloyd only set it up for Best. To Charlton. What a goal!
Well, as John Mawson said, that was vintage Liverpool Man United. Nowadays, Liverpool are in 9th place. They're just 1 point behind the United side, who seem to have found their way after a stuttering start. United go into today's game with the confidence boosted by Wednesday's win over the Hungarians and last Saturday's 3-0 victory at Coventry. Coventry's Brian Kilcline had already been sent off before Brian Robson headed United into the lead 5 minutes before half-time. A good example there of United's set-piece tactics. 3 minutes later, after Coventry had weathered an initial strike, United got their second. This time Gordon Strachan is the provider with the cross, Norman Whiteside the scorer with a near-post header. 2-0 to Ron Atkinson's side at half-time. And 20 minutes after the interval, the goal which wrapped up the 3 points. Look for a lovely first-time pass from Jesper Olsen, right into Mike Duxbury's path. There it goes. And when Coventry failed to clear, Whiteside is there again. A 3-0 defeat for Coventry, which sent them to the foot of the First Division.
And of course the success up front of Whiteside and Hughes has made the absence of the injured Frank Stapleton, who by the way was due to play in a practice match this morning, not quite so badly felt, but just before that it was marvellous to see those great moments from the 102 times that Manchester United and Liverpool have met in the league. Incidentally, the record is very even. It's 38 wins to Liverpool, 36 to Manchester United and 28 drawn. But I think really the point is that this game, the biggest in league football, is not about statistics, it's all about memories. And one man who has more than most, even a goal to celebrate there, Denis Law. Denis, that was 1971, a few years ago. You don't look much older. What's the secret? And how come the hairstyle hasn't changed?
Well, it's the old lacquer, you know. I can't remember Liverpool's goals there. I mean, I didn't think they were as good as that. But Bobby certainly put the finishing touch to a great move. But it was a time when, well, it always has been a time between Liverpool and Manchester United, ever really going back since 1964, when if one team got the better of the other that season, they were the most likely team to win the championship. And it went 64, 65, 66, 67, where we both won it a couple of times. As we got into 71 and we saw those two go, we must have played well that day to get a draw. But United were going then, weren't they? Now they're beginning to come back.
What about the characters? That's what people remember most of all. What about the characters in the Liverpool team of that era that you remember coming up against?
Well, it was, of course, some very soft players. When you look at Big Ron Yates, you know. And,
gentle, giant.
Gentle, you know, even, you know, he used to kick me going out to the game, which wasn't too bad. I expected that. Obviously, he kicked me during the game. But when he used to kick me coming back up the tunnel, you know, I thought...
And Nobby Stiles, of course, would never do anything like that to anyone on the Liverpool side, would he?
Nobby was a bit unfortunate. Nobby had a bit of a hard player and a dirty player, when in fact, if anybody who really knew Nobby, and you know this, that he wore contact lenses. And he used to take about an hour to put them in before the game. I mean, it was a sight. But what happened, where Nobby thought he was kicking him around the knee, he actually was kicking him around the hip. And it was all down to his bad eyes, really. It was nothing at all like Tommy Smith, who just had to look at you.
Did the
and
players
then
ever...
you went on the other end of the park.
Did the players ever mix socially in those days, the Liverpool United boys?
Yes, yes, they used to come over to Manchester because there was nothing great deal doing in Liverpool, but that wasn't the football side. Socially, of course, in those days there wasn't such a thing as, you know, players' lounges, etc. Now, if we went to Liverpool and got a result, which wasn't many times, you know, we just socialised with ourselves in the dressing room.
Dennis, what sort of line will be delivered in the dressing room, the final thing before those lads go out?
To Liverpool or United?
Either.
Well, of course, United know that the game against Liverpool today is a real crunch game. They've got new players in the side. They also know, and they've known it for many, many years, that to win the championship, they've got to get results against Liverpool, i.e. they've got to beat them here at Old Trafford and get a result at Liverpool. So Ron Atkinson will be saying what he's probably said since, well, for the last 3 games. They've scored plenty of goals, they haven't conceded any, and if they go out and just, the normal cliches in football, you know, if they go out and play their own game and don't worry about the opposition, then they might get the result. But we know Liverpool. Liverpool, they don't change their style for anybody, no matter where they're playing. They got a great result in midweek in Europe, and they'll be coming to Old Trafford. They know that United are the team that has been chasing them for many years, and they'll know what to expect. They got beat here last season, but that's gone.
Yeah.
This is a new game to Liverpool, and they'll just go out and play the type of football that's been successful for so long.
Yeah, it'll be terrific, Dennis. We're back with you in a moment, because our next subject will, I'm sure, be greeted with cynicism in some quarters and interest, perhaps even relief in others. It concerns an aspect of the game which, outside the actual scoring of goals, provides the greatest entertainment for the fans. Now, this week at the new National Soccer School at Lilleshall, England manager Bobby Robson and all the FA's full-time coaches gathered to hear, together with a class of 25, a 61-year-old Dutchman talk about something which was once so common in our game, and that's the art of dribbling.
There's the man who's really fighting for his cup medal. Could he score the winning goal now himself? It's there! Harry! Villiers.
And still Ricky Villiers. What a fantastic run! He scored!
In the 30 years that have elapsed between Ricky Villiers' magnificent cup-winning goal and the Matthews final, the dribbling skill seems to have been all but lost from the game in England. Hence the SOS sent out this week to Will Curver from England manager Bobby Robson.
Very good, boys. Relax. Next exercise, boys. Boys, a little in the knees. And we start. 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 Okay?
For 5 days, Curver, an extraordinary character who has twice undergone open heart surgery, had the boys at the National School spellbound, impressing upon them the need for specialisation.
I never see in the world, never in no one club, a special technical trainer. We can learn the boys, the moves and the tricks from the Greek players. And with all these moves, you are helpless. And that is why I make the teaching plan.
And watching every twist and turn intently, the England manager.
We've lost the dribblers. I mean, if anybody says, oh, we haven't, well, I'm saying, well, you tell me where they are. Show me them. Show me them in the first division. We've got some, of course. Not all have gone. But we haven't got enough. You know, I mean, George Best wasn't he? You know, he talked about things. George Best was in the same category, obviously. Fantastic dribble of the ball. Took people out of the game. Went past people.
I remember being in Argentina for the World Cup, and a driver was taking us to the games, Ron Greenwood and myself, Argentinian fella, and he took me to see this. It was 2 European teams playing. Austria were playing Sweden, I think, and after about a quarter of an hour, he said to me, "Mr. Sexton," he says, "it's why is no dribbling?" He says, "No dribbling," because they're used to it there. You know, they're used to 1 against 1. You don't swallow it. You take the bloke on. It's a macho thing.
Kempes, well, they can't give him that sort of room to move on to it. Luque. Oh, lovely play by Luque. Kempes up with him. Houseman far side. Luque going through the wall.
We used to learn tricks, didn't we, by going to a game when you're a youngster, going to Spurs or Arsenal, or that's what I used to do, and coming home and copying what you've seen somebody do. So kids will copy what they see.
Here's Walters. Oh, it's a lovely turn. Oh, what a beautiful goal.
And who do you think provided the inspiration for young Mark Walters to attempt such a trick?
Boyd made himself the room.
What the players want to know in this country is, how do you go past a player? How do you take a player on?
Yeah, come all the boys, come on boys.
Watching Will Kerber demonstrate some 75 basic dribbling techniques, you're struck by the deftness of his touch and his balance.
Quick boys, not to create the circle, yeah. Come boys, quick turning. Here boys, quick.
All it needs after that is practice, although for some, particularly the aging goalkeeper on the right, perhaps more practice than others. But Kerber's influence can be found all over the world. One of his pupils, the elegant Franz Tyson.
Waiting for Ipswich here with Tyson. Lovely play by Tyson. Look at that. That's superb, and he's going to set somebody up here. It was Muren! And the two Dutchmen have provided a tremendous moment here.
The association expect from you something extra. An elegant looking player. With all this move in a very short time, you elegant looking player. A la Cruyff, a la Beckenbauer. Tomorrow we have a long day. I thank you for all. Okay, boys? Okay.
And long after the boys had gone, Bobby Robson remained, picking the brains of a real artist and technician. As for the aim...
Well, let's see if we can develop into this country some really highly technically adept players. The game needs it.
Dennis, what do you make of that?
Well, it looked fantastic, didn't it? And you see the likes of Matthews at the beginning and George Best. And sadly to say, there are very few people with the ability to dribble. You got John Barnes, that marvellous goal against Brazil.
Yeah. So you're not against, Dennis, you're not against a Dutchman, a 61-year-old Dutchman coming over, as some of the critics have been?
Sorry, Bob.
You're not against a Dutchman coming over to teach us the skill of dribbling?
No, I'm not against anybody coming over if we're going to improve the game in England and improve it by the skills of learning from the skills of the Dutchman. Yeah, we've been learning from the Brazilians for ages.
But Dennis, wouldn't you agree, being a Scotsman, that you're born with it? It's in the cradle. I'll mention two players to you who were doing it while they were still on the rusks. Well, Jimmy Johnson, Willie Henderson. I mean, Johnson learned a lot under Steen, but Steen didn't go out in the park with him and teach him how to dribble. He would say to him, look, if you don't play well against Red Star Belgrade, you'll have to...